Yo, what's up? So it's been kind of a big thing recently with China limiting the playtime of online video games to people under the age of 18 to 3 hours a week. That story actually broke and it was pretty big. What China says it's trying to do is reduce gaming addiction to people under the age of 18. And that might be true. They might have some weird endemic thing going on. I know that a lot of like people in America, like older people would say that like kids in America are addicted to gaming, and I would tend to disagree. I don't know if they're necessarily addicted, but this is what China says it's trying to do. They're trying to reduce the addiction of video games in young people. Now, they've also said that they're going to slow down the approval rating or outright halt the approval rating of new video games and the release of new video games. And so a lot of people I've seen in comments on Reddit, I've seen a lot of people talk about this on Twitter and stuff like that. They'll say things like, good, now maybe companies will stop pandering to these markets. Now these companies we won't have another Blitzchung incident if you're into like Blizzard stuff or anything like that. Now, that's probably true. These companies will stop pandering so much to China if they're not getting their games released in those regions. But also, it's important to understand that China provides a lot of money to these companies. So they're going to probably lose out on a lot of revenue, which will obviously reduce their ability to produce these video games. So it's not necessarily all good, right? Like we still want the Chinese market if we're going to increase like the ability of companies to produce more games or produce better games. Some people might argue that by pandering to these markets, you're making games worse, but you have to understand that these markets are massive. The Chinese market is probably bigger than the Western market by itself. So that's enough people to where this is going to severely hinder new games. And so is this actually a good thing? Maybe for the quality of games for a Western audience, yes. Maybe not for an Eastern audience, because if companies aren't pandering to China, then they're going to be less likely to pander to those other Eastern countries as well. Although they'll still probably release things to like Korea or whatever other Eastern country that has a huge gaming market. But it's not to say that it's going to be as massive as the Chinese market. So if it's true that this is going to really affect like the revenue of companies, so like when you think about this, you're like, how much of the market does China really make up? And if we believed a lot of the studies from like 2015, then about 25% of the market. Okay, so between like the U.S., Europe, and other Asian countries, they make up about 75% of the total market. So China being a massive 25% of the gaming marketplace is going to mean that companies are probably going to release games slower. We might even see some companies try to wait out this freeze of new game releases in China. They might just like not release their game until it's available to do in China, because, or maybe they'll release it here first and then release it later in China. That would probably be the smarter move. I'm not a game company. It's hard for me to say, but I think that overall, this isn't a win for the gaming world. I think we have this problem now where companies are going to lose out on a lot of money. And so it's going to be hard for them to make more games. And I don't know how long this game, like this new game release freeze, is going to last, but it can't be good no matter how long it lasts for the companies that make games, which means that if you're looking forward to games in production right now, it might hurt those games. Like I'm thinking like the next World of Warcraft expansion. I don't know if that counts as a new game release. I imagine it does. It's probably an internal struggle right now within Blizzard for what they're going to do about this situation. All right, and that goes for any other game that wants to release in China. And like, yeah, China being as big of a market as it is could mean a lot of slowdowns in the gaming industry. But of course, China doesn't make up the highest market for every gaming genre. When I think of what games China makes up for, it's usually MMOs, BRs, and other competitive games. So if you're into the market for, say, like single player RPGs, I imagine that market probably won't be hit quite as hard. But like League of Legends in China is massive. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is massive in China. World of Warcraft is massive in China. You have these massive games and genres that it's hard for me to imagine that these companies aren't going to take a massive hit from all of these things that they're doing now. So, and you know, kids probably play a lot more video games than adults do now. I can only talk from personal experience. I guess I could look up statistics, but I'll leave that for you guys to do if you want to. I imagine that children probably play games a lot more than adults do because they just have more free time. And if they have more free time, they're more likely to get their parents to buy stuff. That's actually why, you know, you can't advertise to kids very easily on YouTube anymore. It's because kids will ask their parents for stuff, and like kids are annoying, so parents will usually give in. So marketing to kids is, at least as far as monetary wise, is very effective. Now, of course, China is trying to protect their children. I don't want anyone to say that they're like, it's kind of weird if people are like, oh, China's just trying to be like authoritarian or whatever. I think honestly, it seems like China actually thinks that this is the best move to protect the children in the country. I don't know if that's true. Maybe they're misguided in that. Maybe they're not. Maybe all of the science and statistics and everything shows that banning in this way will actually help their population. And I mean, I can't imagine that it will, but I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a statistician, so I could be wrong. But I believe that China actually is trying to do what it thinks is going to help its like population. I just think that it's bad for the industry, and I don't think it's going to be helpful. And I think it is kind of, it's obviously it's authoritarian. I mean, China is an authoritarian government. This decision is, while it is aimed to help the people by removing choice and removing freedom, you're harming them in a way, I guess. So it's a really weird situation where at what point as a government are you helping and at what point are you harming, if that makes sense. So I want to know what you guys think down in the comments. I want to know two things, actually. One, do you think that this will actually help gaming addiction among young people in China? And two, even if it does or doesn't, do you think it's a good idea to do just in general from a government? Because in my opinion, I don't think that this is like a government's like position. In my opinion, this would be more of like a parental kind of thing to do. Although you could make the argument that a lot of people are bad parents, maybe. And so it takes the government to force them to be good parents, maybe. I just don't agree. I think that when the government kind of forces people to do these things, it makes it almost like rebellious and angsty to go against it. And so I think it could be kind of harmful. I think it could actually cause like an actual problem, like a bigger problem within their country, but we'll have to see how it plays out for them. And then I obviously don't think this is going to work. I don't think that gaming addiction is as easy as just like banning gaming. I think if somebody is going to get addicted to gaming, that there's probably a lot of other circumstances that led to that. And so if it's not gaming they're addicted to, it's going to be something else. So for this situation, it seems like a misdemeanor, right? Like it just seems like an authoritarian government kind of coming in, waving their dick around and just doing what they think is best without actually taking in too much consideration. Of course, they probably do have psychologists that work for the government. They probably do have like a bunch of researchers. Whether or not they use them or not is completely up for debate, I suppose, in this case, or maybe yet to be seen, because who knows? Maybe some, like every psychologist in China was like, yeah, this is probably the best way to do it from a government point of view. So I think it's going to be a very, very hard, I don't know, couple months, couple years. However long this lasts, I think it's going to be stressful for companies, and I think it's going to slow down game development, and I think it's going to be a problem for the entire industry, and including the consumers. So yeah, that's it. Like I said, let me know what you think down in the comments. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video or you want more content like this. But yeah, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Peace.